let us see what are the components of logical data warehouse here. Okay, when it comes to a components of logical data model, okay, you have 5 components which are called as entity, attribute, primary key, relationship, and foreign key. Okay, so we will go through what these are, but at a very high level, these are the 5 things which you will capture as part of your logical data model. Okay, so what is an entity? Basically, an entity is nothing but an relevant, a collection of relevant object data where you are trying to capture or store the data there. So that is nothing but your entity here. Okay, it is typically a noun. Okay, like a person, place, or a thing. So it is named under a noun there. Okay, it represents a set of instances. Okay, so for example, if you are storing a data related to employee, okay, or department, okay, or region, okay, or product, so all those things, when you are storing a data relevant to a particular subject group or an object, right, so that becomes your entity here. If you typically see that, it will be only the naming will be given based on an instance, not on occurrences here. Okay, what's the difference between instance and an occurrence? If you take an example here, okay, your employee, when you are capturing a data for an employee, that becomes an instance. Okay, so employee data is an instance. Occurrence is the number of employees which come under that instance will become an occurrence there. Okay, suppose if you have 2 or 3 employees in that particular entity, then they become occurrence here. Okay, so when you are naming your entity, you should not name them based on occurrence. You should name your entity based on an instance here. Okay, so that is how you name your entity here. Next we will see what an attribute is. Okay, an attribute is nothing but an element of your entity. Okay, if you typically convert this into a physical model, okay, we will see how it converts, but if you see into a physical model, an entity is nothing but your table. Okay, if you know what a table is, so I'm just trying to correlate what a table is. So your entity becomes a table. Okay, and your attribute is a column in the table. Okay, so your attribute is nothing but an element of information specific to an entity. Okay, it holds the various things. It can have multiple attributes, and then every entity can have multiple attributes, which are nothing but called as your columns. Okay, every attribute will be having a specific data types attached to that. Okay, so there are various data types like number, where, char2, data, character, all those things are what you will be capturing. So whenever you do that data capture, you need to give appropriate data type also, saying what values does this attribute hold there, whether it is a character, whether it is a date or number, or that things also you have to specify here for an attribute here. Okay, so that's on the attribute part. So what we saw an entity, then we saw an attribute now. Okay, it is nothing but your table and a column if you typically take it for your easy understanding. Okay, we have a small exercise. Actually, we will just hold on for this for a couple of more minutes because I just want to cover this other 3 parts also. Then we will come to this hands-on or this lab session. Then we have our primary key. What is a primary key? Basically, a primary key is nothing but your unique identifier of each instance, okay, within an entity. So if you want to maintain a unique data in your entity, so that is when you create a primary key. Okay, So it mainly sits on a entity level. Okay, you can only have one primary key per entity. Okay, these basically, when you say this primary key, they cannot be null. Okay, they should hold some values here. These primary keys are either naturally created or assigned by the system, or you can assign them by your name or by whatever it is, with a name what you want or what system assigns, which is artificially, which is called there. Okay, so either ways this primary key can be assigned. There are two types of primary keys, what we say. Even though there is one primary key on the entities, you can still have a simple primary key and a composite primary key. Okay, what is a simple primary key? Basically, a simple primary key is nothing but when you have only one attribute as part of your primary key, that becomes a simple primary key. Okay, what is a composite primary key? When you have a primary key with more than one attributes, okay, like combination of 2 or 3 attributes, then it becomes a composite primary key. Okay, so the example what you are seeing on the screen is employees data, where you have employee ID. Okay, so that is a simple primary key. Okay, so how you are maintaining uniqueness of this particular data is based on the employee ID here. Okay, so that becomes your simple primary key. Okay, suppose if you also have a primary key on this SSN. Okay, so your primary key is a combination of your employee ID and SSN, then it becomes your composite primary key. Okay, so this employee ID and SSN value should be unique. Then only that both values of these both attributes will become your primary key there. Okay, so that's on the composite primary key and simple primary key. So next part is relationship. Okay, so what is relationship? Basically is how your both entities are linked in your logical data model is what this relationship talks about. Okay, relationships are been specified using a straight line. Okay, so you see this line here, right? What this department entity and employee entity, you have a straight line joining that. So that line in your logical data model represents that there is a relation between these two tables or these two entities is what this particular relationship will let you know here. Okay, so how these relationships are being built is what we will go through. Relationships can be basically in like 3 types, which is a direct one-to-one relationship. Okay, when you have a direct one-to-one relationship, that becomes one-to-one. You have one-to-many and many-to-many. So these are the 3 types of relationships what you can have on 2 different entities here. Okay, basically using these relationships, okay, you will be building your this also comes to an concept of foreign key as well. Okay, inheritance and foreign key, when you try to build these relationships, so that becomes a foreign key as well. We will just come to this, but first we will go ahead and talk on these relationships here. Okay, what are the types of relationships what you have here? Okay, okay, before getting on to that, I think let us talk about key inheritance and foreign key as well. It is different. A relationship and inheritance is different. So if you have a value where, or a foreign key is another main component where you say that each entity, when it has a relationship with either one-to-one or one-to-many or whatever it is, and when you are trying to inherit a properties from a parent and a child, that becomes an inheritance here. Okay, or a foreign key concept. So on this example, what you are seeing, your department entity is your parent entity and your employee is your child entity. Okay. So this department ID, whatever you have in your parent entity, is having a, you just see a plus sign here, right? Plus in your employee entity. So that becomes your child entity here. Okay. So that means that there is a parent-child relationship between here when you have such type of relation here, or that you can even call that as a foreign key. So in your employee entity, your department ID becomes a foreign key here. Okay. So that is what is the key inheritance and foreign key concept. Okay. So that's where you come into picture of your parent and a child relationship here. Okay. So what we have seen till now is we have seen the components of your logical model so far. So we have 5 basic components, which is nothing but your entity, attribute, primary key, relation, and your foreign key or key inheritance. So these are the 5 types